Tonight, friends, we look at what's taking place with the economic crisis is just the beginning. We know that the Bible has predicted that the economic system will collapse. Go to now, James 5, 1 through 3. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. For you have heaped treasure together for the last days. Let's move on. We already read about this prediction way back over 100 years ago, how the moneyed men, because they have the power, control the market. This will mean starvation to the poor classes and will result in a civil war. I believe that, friends, that we're on the border of civil unrest in America. The centralizing of wealth and power, the vast combinations for the enriching of the few at the expense of the many, the combinations of the poorer classes for the defense of their interests and claims, the spirit of unrest, of riot and bloodshed, the worldwide dissemination of the same teachings that led to the French Revolution, which was atheism and Illuminism, all are tending to involve the whole world in a struggle similar to that which convulsed France. Friends, I don't know about you, but are you looking around seeing some unrest in America today? People are unresting. There are problems brewing under the surface. I don't know about you, friends, but we've heard that the last 200 years has been it's been an experiment, the constitutional experiment, friends. This is the first nation in history that has had a constitution like we have. And it's been an experiment, friends. God, I believe, has raised up this country, blessed us with the wonderful document of the Constitution. But, friends, it depends on how leadership go along with it, how men are obedient of how this will be successful. And, friends, I believe that we are on the verge of a collapse in this nation. We looked at this history of the central bank, and because we've already gone over this Wednesday night, I'm going to go through these slides very quickly. But sometimes repeating the information helps the mind. Now, for those of you who were here Wednesday night, was it our founding fathers' original design that we would have a central bank? Yes or no? No, it's not. We're told, matter of fact, that one of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto is to have a central bank. We're going to read about that again. We know the central bank came all the way back from 1694, in Great Britain. The Bank of England was established 1694 by the Scotsman William Patterson. And we know that these private bankers, this is a private company in England that was originally constructed above the ancient temple of Mithra in London. The people are all involved in spiritualism, secret societies that are involved in these things. Mithra was considered the god of contracts. In 1734, the bank moved to its current location on Threadneedle Street and slowly acquiring the land to create the great edifice there seen today. And we know that this bank eventually became under the control of the Rothschild family in the 1700s. 1743, Amschel Moses Bauer, he hung that sign. He renamed himself Rothschild, which means Red Shield. And of course, his son, Meyer Amschel Bauer, took over the banking dynasty, had 5 sons, and they now control the banking industry in Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. The Rothschild family, that is part of the Illuminati, is in charge of the Central Bank of England. Matter of fact, Forbes, 2005, Forbes magazine listed him as one of the 20 most influential businessmen of all time, referred to him as the founding father of international finance. So we look at the Rothschild family. And then, of course, we have the central bank then coming to the United States. Now, we look at the American Revolution. And the American Revolution, one of the reasons why it was fought was over the issue of money, wasn't it? We did not want to be under the jurisdiction of the Central Bank of England. The Constitution provides that Congress shall have the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. Now, whether to coin money means to issue money has been debated, but as President Andrew Jackson observed, if anyone was given the power to issue money, it was Congress, not a private banking elite. For a full century before the American Revolution, the colonists funded a period of unprecedented prosperity and productive enterprise with paper money issued directly by their own local governments or government-owned banks. According to this man down here, Benjamin Franklin, it was chiefly to get that power back after King George halted the practice that the colonists fought the revolution. One of the reasons why we fought the revolution was that we would not have a central bank. And so it was so important to the founders of our country not to have a central bank that we even put it in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution reads that Congress shall have power to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and a foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures. But of course we know that there's been this great conflict with the powers that be. And sure enough, 1791 to 1811, we had a bank anyway. by Alexander Hamilton. Its charter ran out. And then we had the second bank from 1816 to 1833. And who was the president who helped to destroy the second bank? Does anyone remember his name? Old Hickory. What was his name? Andrew Jackson. That's exactly right. Andrew Jackson. And by the way, Andrew Jackson was almost assassinated because of standing up against the central bank. You have to understand that between 1833 and 1913, that many presidents were assassinated because they were against the central bank. You have William McKinley, James A. Garfield, President Abraham Lincoln, and even Andrew Jackson himself was almost killed because he was against this private banking cartel. And then in 1913, a puppet came to power. His name was Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson, the great puppet, and I say he was a puppet because he was put in there, financed by the bankers. And as soon as he went into office, he signed into law the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, thus giving a private monopoly to a private banking cartel. And so, friends, here we do. And matter of fact, here we already talked about this, that Karl Marx, the founder of communism, even said that one of the ways to get a nation to become communist was to have a central bank. I'm going to put up there again. I have so much information tonight, friends. I'm just going to continue going on. Karl Heinrich Marx, in 1848, wrote the epic-making Communist Manifesto with Engels. And here it is, the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. What is it? Number 1, the abolition of private property and the application of all rents of land or property taxes to public purposes. Number 2, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. You have to understand that there is not one law anywhere mandating Americans to pay a federal income tax. Now, you may say, oh, well, are you a tax evader? I'm just a constitutionalist, friends. I believe in my constitutional rights. And there's not one law anywhere, not even in the Internal Revenue Code, that says that you're mandated to pay your income tax. The IRS is the largest debt-collecting agency in the world. And what they do is they bully people to pay money. It is part of the Communist Manifesto. Abolition of all rights of inheritance, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. We'll talk about that when we get to 9/11 later on. Here it is, number 5, the very middle pillar of the Communist Manifesto is a central bank. The centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. One of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. The centralization of means of communication and transportation in the hands of the state, on and on and on. And then, of course, number 10 is my favorite. Free education for all children in public schools. Very interesting. And of course, we know that there's a debate right now about President Barack Obama addressing school children. When is it supposed to be? Tuesday. And people have a real issue with that because they wonder why he's trying to reach the minds of the youth. And we'll talk about that as far as the youth later on as well. By the way, let me just say something for those who may get upset when I mention presidents' names. I want to let you know that I am neither a Republican nor a Democrat. I'm what I heard one person say, I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in either party. I don't bow or genuflect to the claims of either party. The reason why is because I believe that the Democrats and the Republicans are part of the same party. It's called a two-headed, one-party system. And any other party that tries to put any type of change never gets on the ballot. And I have a real problem with that, friends. Now, do I believe that everybody's corrupt? No, I don't. I believe that there are some good people in the Democratic Party. I believe that there are some good people in the Republican Party. But I don't believe that the two-party system is good for America. I believe that we need a little bit more choice. Let's continue on. And by the way, and if you're just honest, friends, you know that whoever gets the most money wins the election. Isn't that true, friends? That's just the way it goes. Whoever gets the most money wins the election. That's just how it goes every single year. Let's continue, or every single election. Let's continue on now. What did Thomas Jefferson say about the banks? Banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and the corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent that their fathers conquered. And right now we're having this issue, aren't we, friends? Millions of people are getting put out of their homes because of the issue of the banks. We'll continue on. Let's move on. I have a lot more to cover, friends. Let's just continue on here. And as I mentioned, here it is. These are some experts themselves saying that banks don't even fund loans. It's a magic wand they wave, creating money out of thin air, which is why we have such a problem today. Let's move on now to part 2, the global systemic crisis. And here we have, since last year, Brazil and Argentina, they stopped requiring trade in dollars. America is on the verge, friends, of an economic collapse. Do you understand this, friends? And I'm going to tell you something. You may believe that we're doing better, over the last several months. The stock market's gone back up. I want to tell you that the stock market is not an indication of the economy. You understand this? The stock market is an indication of people that know how to buy and sell and make money. That does not reflect you and I. How many of us are getting rich off the stock market? Not many. Now, some of you, I don't know, maybe some of you have 401ks and things like that. I know my grandparents lost about half their wealth. Most of you who are regular people are losing money because of the stock market. Maybe you're making a little bit more, but you have to understand that the stock market does not reflect the common working person. And right now we have over 16 million people that are unemployed right now. So just because the stock market is going up doesn't mean that the 16 million unemployed people are making any money. Does that make sense, friends? Let's continue on. Here it is. Top stories. Yahoo Finance. Stocks plunge anew as data points to a recession. We knew all these things. How many of you remember the financial crisis last year? Well, friends, I want to tell you something that we're not out of the woods. I believe it's going to go back down very soon. I'll give you evidence and show you why. Chicago mayor. Back in October 2008, even the Chicago mayor had to shut down his government for 6 days because he did not have money to fund the government. How many of you heard of California? What's happening over there? California has almost collapsed 3 times. And I've always, cut this, cut that, got some kind of balance the budget. I used to live in California just a few months ago. And I remember this thing was going down, and they had to close, I think it was, $40 billion or something like this, $60 billion of a loop, a deficit. And so the governor, and you remember the story, right? They locked everybody in, locked the California legislature up all night, and forced them to make a vote. And finally, they closed the gap, still had about $6 billion that they didn't reconcile. And I said, it's all over, it's done, it's great, it's all over now. We don't have to give out IOUs. And then I remember on the news, about 2 weeks later, they were back up like $20 billion back in debt. It was amazing. Friends, I believe that California is going to go down very soon. Let's continue on. Here it is. And now here are the bailouts. This is how we get out of the crisis. According to the news, here's Bloomberg.com. The Federal Reserve, the central bank, what do? They pumped $630 billion into the financial system last September, and voila, magic wand, the crisis is gone, right? And of course, wait a minute, AIG collapses, and then Washington Mutual, and it seems like they all started collapsing over and over, right? Chrysler goes down, and GM goes down, and everybody wants a bailout. And hey, not a problem. We just wave a magic wand, print trillions of dollars. Does anyone know how much money has gone for the bailouts so far? Anyone want to take a wild guess, because you don't know the true statistic?